Hi, guys. This is Mrs. Lamb, and today I want to talk to you about working more on your Explorers Research Project and specifically what it is that I want you to do with the graphic organizer. So, by this point, you should have already filled out your sources document, meaning you have a World Book source, and notice how I have a URL, which is my link, and it should be blue, and you should be able to click on it and go back to the website. And then you have your citation, which is what will actually go at the end of your paper. You have your EBSCO source. You have your other website or any other source that is a reliable one that you have chosen. And then, of course, you have your book in print or an ebook. So once you have all of the documents open, like I do on the top of my computer here, so I have my World Book open, I have my EBSCO open, and then I have another reliable source. I've picked Encyclopedia Britannica and also a book. So that's obviously not on the screen because it's a book. So what you're going to do is in Classroom, you're going to go to where it says Explorers Research Project, and you'll have to click on it to see all of the attachments, but you are going to click on the graphic organizer to open it. So the graphic organizer looks like this, and you will notice on the left side, it tells you what it is that should go in that part of the paper. So this would be the introductory paragraph, and it tells you what you would put in it. And then you have the body paragraphs. There's 3 of them. So there's body paragraph 1. And this is over where you type, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3, and then you have your conclusion. My recommendation for you is to start with body paragraph 1. And I wouldn't even start with the subtopic sentence. I would start with detail sentences where you're literally looking through your sources, trying to find information to put on this graphic organizer. It's the best way to get started. I would actually do my introduction and my conclusion last. So start with the body paragraphs, then do all your subtopic sentences in the body paragraphs, and then go back and do your intro and your conclusion. So let's start with Explorer's background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my sources, and I'm going to find whatever I can find about my explorers' early life, like what they did before they explored. So for instance, I'm looking at this World Book site, and I can see that Vasco da Gama, who is my example here, lived from around 1469 to about 1524. And you can tell 1469 is not a definite because there's a question mark after it, but that's okay. So when you're actually putting this into your own words and you're typing it into your graphic organizer, I would, and you don't even have to do complete sentences here, but I would just do, born around, and then look back at the date, 1469. Whoops, 1469, and died in, then it says 1524. So you are typing that in. And you can always hit enter and expand these boxes as big as you need. That way you can fit as much information as you want on here. And that's why this is better than having to do it on paper and trying to fit by writing small. So in fact, this shouldn't have been on the subtopic sentence. I should have put it in the next one down. So we're not going to do the subtopic sentence just yet. We're just looking for facts about our explorer. So born in 1469, 1524. You can just put where he was born. I think he was born in Sine, Portugal. So it says it right here. And it talks about where he probably attended school in the town of Evora. It says, as a young man, da Gama learned astronomy and navigation. He became a naval officer in 1492 and commanded ships along the coast of Portugal. So this is the point where you are going to have to start putting things into your own words or just putting down facts, but they are not going to be typing exact sentences as you're reading them. So you might put, probably went to school at, and I think it said Evora or something. Yeah, that right there. And I am going to copy just that one word because of the accent mark. It's easier than just trying to look up and enter an accent mark. So you can make it match the rest of the font. So the rest of the font is this Architects. So I would just do that. I think it's a size 11. I don't know. What do I have? Nope, it's a size 10. You're going to change all this anyway when you go to make a Times New Roman for the actual paper. Then you are still looking and you're trying to find, okay, so he learned astronomy and navigation. So you'll put all of that in your own words, and also check your other sources, because a lot of times they will have more or additional or different information. So you're going to look here and you're looking, okay, as a youth, he participated in the wars against Castile, commissioned by Emmanuel, King of Portugal, to reach India. So you can include all of the stuff, that, he was, he served in wars against Castile. So you could put it like that if you wanted. And so served in wars between Portugal and, I guess against Castile. Castile is probably in Portugal somewhere, actually. So it looks like it was more of like a civil war of some sort. So anyway, and it goes into detail about Da Gama. So you'll just want to look and you'll want to see anything in his early life. So check all of your sources, though, because some have different information. So this one, for instance, this Encyclopedia Britannica, I guess is what it is. Yeah. In his early life, it talks about how he's a third son of, and so you could actually include that. And you could include, it talks about there's little known about his early life, but enough to at least put something. So, in your own words, it says third son of this person. And he was a nobleman. So that does mean that Da Gama was of noble blood. So you could put something like, born into nobility as the third son of, add that person's name there. And again, you can make it match the rest. So put it in the Architects to match. Okay, so there, you've got a little bit of information about the birth information. Now you have to go back and look at death information. We know he died in 1524, and there's actually later on a little bit more that you will talk about the end of the life. So you really don't have to put any more in this particular box. So now detail sentences about life before exploring. So again, you're going to look back at your explorers and in the information that you found, and you are going to actually try to start making sentences out of this, okay? So this is birth and death information. This is life before exploring. So I would probably just actually copy this, and it probably would fit better in this box right here. Okay, because this is the birth and death. This is life before exploring. And then the country he sailed for is clearly Portugal, because that's what it continues talking about, but another Portuguese sea captain. And then it talks about Portugal asked Da Gama to find a sea route to India by sailing around Africa. So clearly the answer is, sailed for Portugal. You can start at any time putting these into complete sentences, but you're looking here and you're trying to find, what he was asked to do, maybe when he was asked to do it. So, it talks about how Da Gama, and you might even mention Da Gama had already discovered a route around the southern tip of Africa in 1488. So then King Manuel of Portugal asked Da Gama to find a route to India by sailing around Africa. So what I would do is I would definitely mention Diaz in 1488. And then I would go on to talk about in 1497, he was asked, 1497, he was asked to find a route around Africa to get to India. You might specifically say sea route, and then just make sure that you're not copying it too close. You know what I mean? Try to put it in your own words. And then you like I said, you want to mention Bartolome Diaz. And so, you might even put Bartolome Diaz had already found and sailed around the southern tip of Africa in 1488. So like that happened before your explorer da Gama has found or been asked to find a specific route to get all the way to India to trade. Okay, so that's how you do this. You're just looking up information, you're filling it out the best that you can, looking at all of your different sources. So I've looked at this source a lot. Now I might look at some of these and see if there's anything that this one has that the first one didn't have. Or I might look at, this other one. Or I'm looking at the book in front of me and I'm adding in information. Now, if I do decide that I want to use something word for word. So let's say on the graphic organizer, I want to talk about, his best known expedition. Okay. First or best known. So you pick. But some of these explorers only went on one anyway, but some of them went on multiple ones. So the big one here for this particular explorer is going to be that he sailed all the way around Africa and made it to India. So you are looking in your sources and you are trying to find information. Here's the first voyage. So let's just say that I did want to use this one word for word. So, okay, that's fine. Copy and paste it. Okay, just a sentence. But when you do that, you need to make sure that you put quotes around it. Okay. And you also want to make sure that you give credit to the source that you got it from. So, it looks like I forgot some of the sentence here. Okay, so I go back and add this on because I forgot a piece of it. Okay, so then I have to say where I got it from. There's no author listed on this, I don't think. Oh, yes, there is. Written by Felipe Fernandez Armesto and this Ella M.J. Campbell. So what I would do is I would just probably do the last name of the first author. If there's not an author's last name, you would just talk about it came from Britannica.com. So because this one does have an author, I would just say Fernandez Armesto. So when you go back to your graphic organizer, I think that's right. And there's no page number because it's a website. If it was a book, it would be a page number. But like I said, if it did not have an author, then you would have just, in that case, put the website it came from. And you don't have to do the whole www thing. I would just do Britannica.com. And that tells me, the reader, where it came from and that you're not trying to claim that these are your own words. So, and then, like I said, it should be in parentheses. So that way, when you put it in your paper, you are citing it. So this is what's called an in-text citation or a direct quote. So you just continue on with filling this out. When you have all of the middle filled out, that's when I would go back. And after you've looked at all of your sources thoroughly, this is where you're kind of telling a story. And in the introductory paragraph, this is where you start coming up with sentences in your own words, telling the reader what it is your paper's about. Your paper should be 5 paragraphs total. So your introductory paragraph tells your reader introduces them to the topic, tells them what they're going to learn about, and just gives them like a little bit of information to kind of hook the reader so that way they want to read the rest of the paper. And the same thing with the conclusion. The conclusion actually mirrors the introduction. So you're restating the topic sentence from the introduction. So I would do the introduction first. And then you are summarizing a couple of the main details from the body paragraph. So that's where you kind of go back through and just summarize. Oh, born in Portugal, sailed for Portugal, best known for sailing all the way around Africa to India. And so you're putting them in just a few sentences to summarize what your whole paper was about. And then, of course, your clincher is what pulls it all back together. That might be the part where you talk about your explorers' lasting impact on history, or why they were so well known, or why we remember them, why they were important. Were they a difference maker? And you fill all of this out. So this is the big thing that I'd like you to get to today. So at this point, when you're in my class today, you should hopefully already have a stamp for number 2, because everybody has an Explorer. And if you don't, then I need to stamp it. A stamp for number 3, or about to get a stamp for number 3, because you should have all of that done. And then I want this graphic organizer done by today or pretty early tomorrow, because then we need to get to the actual paper itself. So if you finish the graphic organizer and you get a stamp here, then that's when you're actually going to start typing your paper. When it does come time to type your paper, you're going to go back into Classroom, and where you type your paper is where it says Explorers Research Paper. It'll have your name on it, and it's just a blank Google Doc. And so I will make a different video to talk about specifically what to put on here. But I had shown you guys some examples, so you have an idea. So you can at least get started, and then I can show you the specifics about what I want on this paper. But you can always go back to the research paper requirements document that tells you specifically what is required in this paper. So, you've got your 4 sources, you need to have your 2 in-text citations, 500 words total, 5-paragraph essay, 12-point font, and we'll go over all of the rest of it later. So that is all that I have for you today. I want you guys to work really hard and get as much as you can done so that you don't have homework. So thank you. Have a good one, guys.